It's time for the One Bar and Lupaga Show, bringing you anything and everything Minnesota Vikings.
Welcome to professional football.
All right, in this One Bar and Lupaga Show, we're going to break down the rest of the NFC North's draft class, see how they did, see if we should be scared. It's always a good idea to keep your eye on the enemy. In this episode, hit up the comments. Let us know how you feel they rated. Give them a grade. And remember, as always, like the video, subscribe to the One Bar and Lupagus Show. We're going to be bringing you all sorts of Viking stuff throughout the whole offseason into the season. All right, welcome back to the One Bar and Lupagus Show. I am One Bar with Lupagus.
Hello.
And we already broke down the Vikings draft grade, and we're going to whip through the rest of the NFC North, see how our enemies did as well.
Yeah, that's all part of the fun. You got to see how the other teams in the division did, if they improved, if they got worse, if they blew the chances they had to bring in some high-quality talent. So let's start with the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, let's start with these Chicago Bears. Let's see how these Bears did. What were the Bears' biggest needs heading into this draft?
Well, biggest need was, they needed a cornerback. They're a little thin there, some help on the interior portions of their offensive line. And I think a lot of people really have these guys pegged to take a quarterback, even with bringing in Nick Foles. If you have Mitch Trubisky and Nick Foles as your quarterback, the question is, do you really have anything at all?
It's a valid question. And remember, the Bears did not have a first-round pick due to the Khalil Mack, so they had two second-rounders.
Yeah, so and they actually ended up moving up. I think they traded up in round 2 to take another tight end. They did it. They already have like 17 on the roster, but they did release Trey Burton last week. They took Cole Kmet, widely regarded as the best tight end in the draft. To me, this was one of their best picks. Watching the highlights of this guy, he kind of looks like Gronk out there, big old body frame, moving around. This pick does actually worry me a little bit. The only thing that makes me feel better about it is the quarterback's throwing him the ball. The Vikings have struggled to cover tight ends like this in the NFL over the last couple of years. So, to me, this could be something that could be a thorn in our side in the coming years.
Yeah, you made a great point, though. It doesn't matter who your tight end is. If you don't have anybody that gets you the ball, who gives a crap? Kmet is kind of the all-around tight end. I've seen a few comparisons that he is just a little bit better version of a Kyle Rudolph, which is pretty good. And pairing him up with, Jimmy Graham might be 90 years old, but that gives him a pretty good 1-2 punch at tight end. And I think we'll be seeing a lot of 2 tight end sets from the Bears. So it was a good pick. It was a little bit surprising they went tight end that damn early, especially since they didn't have a first rounder. But their next second round pick, Jalen Johnson, was huge value. This guy was looked at as a first round pick, very heavily around the Vikings. So the Bears got a great corner at pick 50 in Jalen Johnson, and I consider that one of the steals of the draft.
Yeah, he went pick 50. There was a lot of talk of him going at 25 to the Vikings. It turns out there's some shoulder injuries with this guy. I think it was his labrum. And he's got some other injury history that I think turned a lot of teams off. So one of those things maybe we didn't know about heading into the draft. But, again, he's got size. His speed is questionable. But to get a cornerback with his skills in round 2 is a big get for the Bears.
Yeah, and, he's going to pair up nicely with Fuller and Buster Screens. So the Bears got a decent secondary back there and got a little bit better. They were donezo until round 5. They had 3 round 5s, 2 round 7s. I mean, just quick, one guy that sticks out to me is defensive end Travis Gibson, just a completely raw beast that has just a high ceiling. I think in a couple of years he might be something to reckon with in that NFC North. I love that guy.
Yeah, I did think round 5 was too early for him. I had him pegged go a little bit later. Another guy I liked but thought they took a little early was the next pick, Kendall Vildor, the cornerback from Georgia Southern. He had a real nice Senior Bowl. Again, the Bears do need a corner. I thought he was going to be like a 7th rounder, but they took him around 5. I do like the player. So I thought they got a decent player there if the value wasn't that great. And the rest of their draft, I'm really not familiar with any of the guys, and I think it's pretty turdy, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they needed offensive line help. They got some late guys on the line. I was just one thing that stuck out is they waited quite a while at receiver. In a draft this thick of receivers, I would expected them to go early. But overall, I think the Bears actually did pretty okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a B minus. I like those first two picks, and while the value maybe wasn't there in round 5 with the guys they took, I do like those players. So I'm gonna go B minus for the Bears.
Yeah, I'm gonna give the Bears just a straight up B. I think Jalen Johnson a 50, Komet, and like I said, Gibson. I'm giving them a B. I think they did pretty good.
All right, especially not for having a
Let's
first
hop
round
over to
pick.
those Detroit Lions, and we're saving the Packers for last. And you're gonna want to stick around for that, by the way.
Heck yeah. Um, Detroit Lions. Well, they did what everybody figured they'd do. They took Jeff Okudah at pick 3. Sounds like they were trying to trade out of that spot, but they got their boy. Now we got to worry about Okudah for the next 6 years.
Frickin' Okuda, yeah, he's gonna be very, very good down the road. I think the Lions are gonna be happy they didn't trade out of that pick. Okuda, Stallion, everybody expected it. They got their boy, and everybody expected round 2 for them to take DeAndre Swift.
False. No, they did not. I thought they maybe would go with D-line, which is another one of their huge needs, which, there was talk of them taking Derek Brown at 3. Also need offensive line help. But they went sexy. They went with the running back. They probably didn't figure he was still going to be on the board, but he was there. And now they got DeAndre Swift to pair with young Kerryon Johnson. How do you feel about that 1-2 punch next year for the Lions?
Yeah, that I was very surprised they took him. After it sunk in, I was a little upset that they took him. Swift is going to be good, but man, they had a lot bigger needs in running back. Their D line, their O line, which they addressed later, but I was very surprised, very, very surprised.
Well, maybe they're taking the best player on the board, and a lot of these running backs went to teams you didn't really expect. Jonathan Taylor ended up going to the Colts, and then J.K. Dobbins to the Ravens. So the teams that really needed running backs weren't taking them early, which I thought was kind of a weird trend of the draft this year.
Yeah, they got good value with Swift, no doubt. Just a little bit of a shocker. The Lions have proven in the past that they're not afraid to take running backs regardless of who they have. Maybe they'll hit on Swift. They did hit on their round 3 pick, though.
Yeah, I like Julian Okwara coming from Notre Dame. He's a guy who can play standing up. He can play with his hand in the dirt. Good length, nice long limbs. Can get those hands up, swat down balls at the line, and he's actually shown the athletic ability to drop into coverage. He was a guy I thought the Vikings might have been interested in, as maybe, a defensive end, but possibly even converting to linebacker. You got to love that pick. And he reunites him with his brother Romeo, who is on the line. So you got a heartwarming story there.
Oh, my heart is full. My heart is so warm right now. Yeah, everybody seemed to want that guy. He was one of those guys that's kind of linked with everybody. He fits any scheme. They're going to have fun with him. They hit on their next 3rd round pick too. They needed interior offensive line help. They got Jonah Jackson from Ohio State, and he is going to be a big improvement for them. Whether he starts as a rookie or not, he's definitely going to push for some time.
Yeah, and I think they did good with their next pick too. Logan Stenberg, another guard who can come in, compete for a starting job. And then, round 5 with Quintez Cephas was a receiver I like from Wisconsin. A nice big body there, good hands. But I think the pick we really got to worry about in day 3 is that big penetrator they got, John Pinacini.
Frickin' John Pinacini, man. That's going to be a great jersey to get. He is going to be a penetrator, no doubt.
He is. Did you see when he was drafted? Trey Wingo said his name. He said like Pensini, and then they would not say it again after. They just kept saying this guy. They would not pronounce his name.
They're afraid they're going to giggle.
Yeah, what a name. But
no, back to Cephas. That was a good pick. That's going to be a good value. And I love the fact that they went guard and guard. They realized they had a big need there. They squashed it back-to-back 3rd and 4th round pick. I like what they did there. But overall, Detroit, what do you give them for a grade?
I'm actually going to give them I think I'm going to give them an A minus. I really like their first like I said, 6 picks. You got potential stud in the secondary in Okuda. DeAndre Swift could be a hell of a running back in this league. Aquara, they fixed their interior, their O-line, and got that wide receiver depth. So I actually like a lot what the Lions did, and I thought they had a hell of a draft.
Yeah, no, the Lions had a good draft. I'm giving them a B plus. The only thing is just that just that Swift pick, just like what the hell. And they took another running back after that. We didn't even mention Jason Huntley from New Mexico State. Yeah. Running back really wasn't that high up on their need list, and they double dipped.
Hey, they got that position figured out now, and
Maybe.
they also got the penetrator.
Maybe. All right, let's go to the shit show known as the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
Let's look at their draft. This is going to be a fun one. Going into this, they needed wide receivers, they needed corners, they needed linebackers, offensive line, tight end, and with their first overall selection, who'd they take?
Well, they didn't just take someone; they traded up and they took quarterback Jordan Love from Utah State to be the heir apparent to Aaron Rodgers, and this really it kind of just set the bar for what their draft was going to be, which I thought was a very arrogant, real arrogant draft by the Packers, not addressing needs and just taking these obscure pieces that aren't even close to being to the top of their need list.
Yeah, Jordan Love. I love this pick as a Vikings fan. He does nothing for the Packers this year, maybe even next year. It does not make them any better. Yes, it gives them a solid backup if Rodgers goes down. But at Jordan Love in round one, the whole draft going into this was get Aaron Rodgers weapons. Anybody who watched any of the Packers games realize that Aaron Rodgers has pretty much nothing, and they take a quarterback. And that was fantastic.
Yeah, the only concern here, if you're a Vikings fan, is if this guy sits a couple years and becomes the next Aaron Rodgers, who was the next Brett Favre, and this trend of the Packers having an elite level quarterback continues. I don't think Love is the prospect that Rodgers or Favre were. He's got some accuracy issues. He threw 17 interceptions a year ago. But he can scamper. He can create the extra time in the pocket, and he's going to have time to develop unless this move pisses Aaron Rodgers off to the point where he wants out, which is a possibility. But I love it for the next couple of years. It's not going to help the Packers at all. But again, down the road, if he does develop, then you got to worry about facing an elite quarterback in Green Bay again for the next decade if you're a Vikings fan.
Yeah, that's fine. We can wait and see how that pans out. I hope Aaron Rodgers is very upset. I hope it just causes a big stir in that organization. We shall see. But going in the round two, I love this pick too. They take A.J. Dillon, running back from Boston College, who was a lot of people had him projected in round 4. And not only that, but I mean, they got Aaron Jones. They still have Jamal Williams, and they just take a running back.
Yeah, it was bizarre. The thing is, he's 6 foot, 247 pounds. He's pretty much a bruiser back. But with Jamal Williams there, who's also kind of that physical back, and Aaron Jones, how much work is this guy going to see in year one? The Vikings have struggled at times with bigger, more physical backs. You look at what Jordan Howard used to do to us, and even like for some reason when we played Rashad Penny, he always seemed to have great games against us. Maybe A.J. Dillon is that kind of a back, but to take this guy in round 2 when you have huge needs like wide receiver and there's players there that they could have had, complete head scratcher.
Yeah, well, the way I see it, if Dillon sees the field, that's a win. I mean, Aaron Jones is one of the best running backs in the league. We all know that. And to take him off the field, I'm all about that. All about it. This was almost as funny as the Jordan Love pick.
Yeah, it was bizarre, and it got even funnier because the next round they go ahead and take a tight end no one's heard of, Josiah DeGuara, and after the draft they said he's going to be their fullback. So they said, you know what, we're taking a fullback next, converting this tight end to a fullback, and it's just what the hell. I mean, bizarre.
Bizarre. I call it fantastic, gross. They go to round 5, a team that has still not taken a wide receiver. Mm-hmm. They take Kamal Martin, linebacker from Minnesota, their best pick strictly because he's a Gopher, and I was hoping we got him. It's going to be sad to see him in green and gold, but that was actually a decent pick. Yeah,
and I actually like the next one, John Runyan, the guard tackle from Michigan. He can play guard tackle. He comes from his dad was also John Runyan, a hell of a football player for the Eagles for a long time. A big, mean, physical guy. So he was a guy I was hoping the Vikings would get late, but he goes to the Packers. Now I'm forced to hate him.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the way it goes. When he retires, we'll love him again. And then the rest were just pretty much gross. I mean, do we even need to go over those guys?
No, and you look at the entire Packers draft, there really is no value here to most of their picks. You can say Martin was a good pick, Runyan was a good pick. And I guess Love at 26, but you didn't move up to get him. So this draft lacked value. It didn't match up with their needs. It was it was just bizarre. It was almost like whoever was making these picks was drunk. I don't know. I mean, it blows my mind how bad this draft is.
Yeah, and it's not just because we're Vikings fans. Everybody is saying how bad this draft class is. Packers fans are saying how bad this draft is. It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it makes zero sense. They did not even draft a wide receiver in one of the thickest wide receiver classes, one of their most glaring needs. Their offensive line, which they need help on, they waited until round six to even look at it. It's gross. It doesn't help them one bit next year. And we'll just have to see how this pans out in the long run, I guess. That's their only hope.
Not only that, I mean, it's got so much potential to create friction in the clubhouse. You got, Jordan Love obviously coming in, and Aaron Rodgers, he might not be on board with that. A.J. Dillon, I mean, what's that? You're going to look at what Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams feel about that. This draft class could create more problems for the Packers than any solutions it would create.
If I'm Aaron Rodgers and I'm looking at this and they take Love in round one, I could get over that. Just the fact that he went through the exact same thing if they would have addressed some of his needs in the other earlier rounds. They pretty much ignored all of Rodgers' needs and what he needs to be successful. That's the part that's going to piss him off.
Yeah, they did. It was almost like a big F you to Rodgers. Like they're saying, hey, we're in charge. It's not your show. And this is what we're going to do to prove that. So, but that hurts the team overall. So it's just, again, I think there's a lot of cockiness in this draft, and I do think they're trying to send Aaron Rodgers some sort of a message with who they took.
Yeah, and maybe, you know what, maybe they got high hopes for Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Alan Lazard. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they do, but
I don't think they do. What's your final Packer grade?
Oh, this is an F.
F.
I'm giving it an F. No doubt.
F. Easy. F. Grossest draft this year by anybody, and it's not
the grossest drafts I've seen in a long time. And I look closely at the Seahawks one this year too.
Yeah, not great. The Bears and Lions did well. I think we agree, and it's not just the purple Kool-Aid. The Vikings had the best draft in the NFC North. Then I think it goes Lions, Bears, Packers.
No, and I think we've both been on the same. Obviously we hate the Packers and don't like the Bears or the Lions, but when it comes to judging drafts, I think we're always open books. And, if the Vikings suck, we'll call them out and say their draft sucked. I hated the 2005 draft. I hated Troy Williamson from day one.
Yeah, I don't think last year was even that great of a draft grade from us for the Vikings. It was all right, but it wasn't fantastic.
Yeah. So
that is the NFC North in a nutshell for draft grades. And remember, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll be bringing you Vikings nuggets all offseason.
Speaking of nuggets, here's a nugget for you. The average load of semen has 25 calories.